Brand new video just into our newsroom tonight showing Houston Rockets guard Kevin Porter Jr. under arrest in New York City.
NBA player Kevin Porter Jr. was arrested at a Manhattan hotel for domestic assault, allegedly. Police say the Houston Rockets guard assaulted his girlfriend at the Millennium Hotel overnight.
Jason?
Well, this is just the latest incident for KPJ, as he's known around the NBA. Has a history of erratic behavior.
And let's talk about this story out of Cleveland, can we, about Kevin Porter Jr. Reports are that the Cavs are ready to trade him or waive him because he had a tantrum the other night when he found out that his locker had been moved.
That's disrespectful.
But there's no question Kevin Porter Jr.'s future, not just with the Rockets, but in the NBA, I think is very much in peril. These are extremely serious allegations.
The Houston Rockets are now putting together a trade package to get rid of Kevin Porter Jr., as news of his recent arrest due to assault and strangulation charges has been spreading like wildfire. Considering the seriousness of these charges, if true, this is likely the end of the road for Kevin Porter Jr. Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is Swish Culture. So the NBA is embroiled in yet another controversy, and being no stranger to the concept, there is a full investigation underway. Now, while the Rockets are moving swiftly on their reaction to Porter Jr.'s alleged attack, and make no mistake, this is only an allegation until there's a conviction in a court of law, there is nothing they can officially do until the league has concluded its investigation. Adam Silver has already gone on record as saying the allegations are horrific and that they need the specifics of the allegations against Porter Jr., who's no stranger to controversies himself. Additionally stated that every case depends on its unique facts. I think here, when we're not in season, there's a bit more of an opportunity to absorb what's happening before we act. If it were a case where we're in the middle of the season, we might be compelled to do something faster. We're still in the process of gathering information. So while there is still a lot to process, like for example, what the charges actually are and what the league plans on doing, the Rockets as well as other NBA teams have to be monitoring the situation as well. Since Porter Jr.'s had a number of issues already in his relatively short 4-year career in the league, his past will certainly come back to haunt him and make the situation worse, however it turns out. While there is no excuse for what Kevin Porter Jr. allegedly did, if the allegations are true, his troubled past includes a lot of issues, some of which he's the perpetrator and others where he's the victim, will come back to haunt him. To say he's been around a life that can't seem to separate itself from violence would be an understatement. Back in the 90s, before he was even born, Porter Jr.'s father, Brian Kevin Porter Sr., was convicted of a shooting in which a 14-year-old girl was killed. He was initially charged with first-degree murder, but pled guilty to a manslaughter charge which saw him in prison for the next 4.5 years. At the end of his sentence, Porter Sr. was released and he went on to share a child with his wife Ayanna Porter. That child would be known as Kevin Porter Jr. Just 4 years later, Kevin Porter Jr. would lose his dad, who was in an altercation in a bar where he was gunned down and shot 5 times. If these sound a little graphic to you, I can understand, but we do need to try to understand the mind of a person who seems normal in one moment, but able to allegedly commit heinous acts of domestic violence for the sake of our own humanity. Mental illness takes many forms. So having grown up without his father and being raised by a single mother with whom he's been very close, KPJ seems to have the same tendency to find trouble as his dad before him. In January of 2019, his first year at USC, he got suspended for conduct issues. Initially said to be an indefinite suspension, this was changed to a 1-game suspension. When all was said and done, however, he was away from the team for 2 games before returning to the court. It seems that after the investigation, they determined that what he did was bad enough to where they were considering letting go of a first-round ranked future one-and-done NBA player. For how talented he is on the court, you can start piecing together the reasons why he likely fell so far in the draft. He was selected 30th overall in the 2019 draft class by the Milwaukee Bucks, but dealt via the Detroit Pistons in a 3-team trade to the Cleveland Cavaliers. This was the same draft where Ja Morant, who has had his fair share of run-ins with the league disciplinary protocol as well as the law, was drafted at second. Ja Morant, however, was facing disciplinary actions due to league protocol on firearms. Speaking of firearms, it wasn't very long after being drafted that KPJ had a run-in with the police for his own firearm issue. Prior to that, however, Porter Jr. was suspended one game during his rookie year for intentionally shouldering referee Bill Spooner because he didn't get a call when he thought he was fouled on November 4th, 2019, less than 2 weeks after his NBA debut. Just a year later, however, on November 15th, 2020, the police at Mahoning County in Ohio charged Porter Jr. with improper handling of a firearm following a single car accident. Basically, he was driving on the highway, lost control of his Mercedes, hit a ditch, and rolled over. As per the charge, they arrested him before he later bonded out. A grand jury didn't bother to indict him on the felony gun charge. They also threw him another bone and dropped the misdemeanor driving without a license. Upon his return to the team for the new season, he was listed as inactive to start due to the weapons charge. Less than a month after, however, the Cavs decided that they had seen enough and announced they were either going to release or trade Porter Jr. after an outburst. This outburst was due to a change in the location of Kevin's locker right after the Cavs had acquired Taurean Prince from the Nets. So in January of 2021, he was traded for a top 55 protected draft pick, which is basically dust. They just wanted to get rid of him. The team he was traded to? The Houston Rockets, where on April 28th, just a few short months after the trade, he proceeded to be only the second Houston Rockets shooting guard in the last few years to get in trouble for going to a strip club. It's not that going to the strip club is somehow a problem, but the fact that he violated the league's health and safety protocols to do it. After a $50,000 fine, he went on to score 50 points in a game, which when combined with his 10 assists, made him the youngest NBA player in history to accomplish the feat. He then managed to stay out of trouble until January of 2022, when he and Christian Wood got into an argument with the assistant coach, John Lucas, after he called them out for pretty much a lack of effort in a game against Denver. Kevin Porter Jr., along with Wood, refused to play in the second half. KPJ went as far as to throw an object in the locker room and stormed out of the arena before the game ended. Both he and Wood were suspended for a single game. Guys, if you're a young player that's trying to make it into the league, there are so many other talented kids out there. If you get an opportunity, the last thing you want to do is give a team a reason to not want you in their locker room. This is textbook issues to avoid if you believe you even remotely have a chance of being drafted. No team wants a player surrounded by drama because it inevitably leads to bad exposure for the team, and in some cases, the next problem that came up for Kevin Porter Jr. The alleged assault on his WNBA girlfriend, Kaiser Gondrezick. The formal charges levied against Kevin Porter Jr. is listed as felony assault and strangulation. The alleged attack left her with a deep cut on her face as well as a fractured neck vertebra. These are very serious allegations, and considering his history, the Rockets likely believe that he will be found guilty of the charges, and whether or not he is found guilty at this point, he's more trouble than he's worth. And just as the Cavs did, they will be choosing to part ways regardless of the outcome. Even if the legal system handles this in the same manner as the Miles Bridges issue, the league takes it seriously. Domestic violence charges in New York can carry a sentence of up to 4 years for a Class E felony and up to life imprisonment for a Class A felony. Based on the circumstances, this is looking like a Class D felony, which carries a 2 to 7 year sentence for first-time offenders. Porter Jr. would be considered a first-time offender since he doesn't have a criminal history in New York, although he does have a history of abuse towards her as he rammed her car with his at one point before. I doubt that he will see the maximum sentence if found guilty, and I'll explain why in just a moment. But officially, that's what he seems to be facing legally. So what about repercussions with the league itself? For comparison, we'd have to look at the Miles Bridges case. Bridges pleaded no contest to a domestic violence felony charge and was given 3 years of probation. Of course, it was required that he attend 52 weeks of domestic violence counseling, 52 weeks of parenting classes, serve 100 hours of community service, and weekly drug testing for narcotics. Hence why I believe that KPJ at 23 years old may end up getting a lighter sentence due to what imprisonment may do to his future, and considering he's a first-time offender, he may just escape the harshest punishment. In Bridges' case, the league based their decision on the outcome of the legal system and also consulted with domestic violence experts for guidance in determining the appropriate punishment, so I'm expecting the same here as well. It does seem what KPJ did may possibly be worse, but Bridges also did this in front of his ex-wife's kids. To top it off, the descriptions of both incidents seem to be somewhat consistent. Bridges ended up getting a 30-game suspension without pay. However, the intangible costs were enormous. The Hornets offered Miles a $7.9 million contract the day before his arrest on June 29, 2022. This made him a restricted free agent, which would have seen offers in the hundreds of millions from contending teams. For the 2023 to 2024 season, a year later on July 6th, Bridges agreed and signed a one-year, $7.9 million contract 3 weeks after these messages were posted on Twitter by his ex. With Ace laying under one arm and A-Lay laying under my other, I write this. I'm the one who spoke out almost a year ago, and sometimes I wish I didn't, seeing the way people treat others, and considering I'll always have love for Miles and our kids love him, but it also hurts me to see the constant bashing and tearing down on him. He is a human being just like us all. I make mistakes. You do. We all do. He's not a woman beater. If you asked me to describe him, that word would never come to my mind, and he's never abused our children. We all have our flaws, and he's not perfect, but overall he's a good person. And no, he didn't ask me to say any of this. I choose to. I'm the reason for the bashing, and hopefully I can be the reason for an open heart. Suffice it to say, KPJ's got an uphill battle to recover from the damage he just inflicted on his career. Sources say the Rockets have contacted multiple teams offering draft compensation as incentive to receive Porter, who has the 2023 to 2024 season slated for $15.9 million in year one of a 4-year, $82.5 million deal, with 3 non-guaranteed years. In deal scenarios using Porter's contract, the Rockets would be using his salary to target a player under contract who can play immediately and help the team. The Rockets are apparently keeping all options open with the future of Porter. While it's tempting to share my thoughts on what I think would be an appropriate punishment, we have the legal system, the NBA, and his current team all with plans to do just that. I truly hope this isn't as bad as it seems, because this truly could be the end of the road for this young man, and who knows what other problems this one could lead to. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time. Swish!